If you've seen this movie, you know just how misleading this tagline is. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. I'm sure you were patiently awaiting this upload. It was a long time coming, but hopefully I'm back on semi-regularly uploading again. I'm going to be talking about movie reviews and I think game reviews, I don't know. And I'm going to be starting off with my review of The Outwaters. So The Outwaters is a found footage horror sci-fi thriller. Sci-fi? We'll get into that. I don't think so. Written, directed by Robbie Banfitch, who also starred, edited, did the sound design. I think he had a little to do with the songwriting in the movie, and he also did all the practical special effects. So besides Robbie Banfitch, it also stars Michelle May, Scott Schimmel, Angela Bassilis, and Leslie Ann Banfitch, who I think is Robbie Banfitch's actual mother, and she was in 2 scenes, and I think she kind of killed it. The IMDb analysis says 4 travelers encounter menacing phenomena while camping in a remote stretch of the Mojave Desert. The trailer doesn't give out too much, so I'm gonna keep the spoilers to the minimum, and I'm gonna dive into some analysis of what I thought the movie actually was trying to say, even though I don't think it was trying to say much. When it comes to indie films, you usually have a little bit of an expectation of what they can do with their budget because they're indie and, they have small budget compared to Hollywood big blockbusters. So the horror movie scene kind of changed with the Blair Witch Project. When found footage really took off, they really kind of popularized it. I know there was some found footage movies before that, but that really took off and, exploded the genre, or the subgenre, I guess. So the original Blair Witch Project was revolutionary for the time, but 20 years later, we've kind of seen it all. So it's up to directors such as Robbie Banfitch to, breathe new life into the genre and, kind of elevate it. So did he do it? I don't think so. I'll be honest, this movie was kind of a letdown. For a while, I couldn't figure out what kind of found footage movie this is. For example, is it going to be simple and vague and tension-filled like where Blair Witch Project, where you don't really know what's going on, but the tension is there and you're kind of feeling it? Or is it going to be like super linear with a specific story, like M. Night Shyamalan's The Visit? Going into it, I thought it was going to be something like the Cannibal Holocaust mixed with VHS. What I actually got was a big, bloody, ambitious mess that says less than it probably wanted to. This movie is about as found footage as it gets, which is the film's biggest positive and negative. So if you've seen any other found footage movie, you know exactly how this movie is going to start. Oh, look at us, we have a camera and we're going to go do something. Look at all the characters that are going to die later. Haha, we're setting shit up and we're building the tension just a little bit. There's a creepy hook in the beginning where it's like, this is a horror movie. Remember, it's like, don't forget, this is a horror movie. Very, very cookie cutter structure to the film. The introduction part really overstays its welcome. It really starts to drag at a point because the tension that they try to build is through fake jump scares. They're not fake jump scares, like stuff actually happens, but it doesn't feel very deserved. Kind of just like, like, oh, did I scare you? Did I scare you? Oh, it's a horror movie, don't forget. The actual movie starts at about like 45 minutes, which is a long ass time with found footage movie where nothing really happens, just people doing people shit. If Act 1 of this movie was about 15 minutes shorter, it would have honestly benefited a lot. But once the horror starts, this movie runs into different kind of hurdles. This film heavily relies on audio design and sound design. A lot of the time, the film is somewhat purposefully doesn't give you a lot to work with. Most of the time, if it's done well, it's a positive. I don't think it was done well in this movie. There were 3 other people in the theater besides me. Nobody had any idea what just happened. Most of the time, this movie doesn't give you anything to work with besides sound. This movie really presents you with the most unsettling ASMR that you've ever heard. It was really good sound design. There was this one sound effect for this one specific thing that, if you've seen this movie, you know what I'm talking about. It was so ear-piercingly loud. Oh my god, I was getting ready for that sound to play just so I could cover my fucking ears. It was actually super loud compared to everything else. I don't know if it was just my theater, but it was crazy loud. Besides that, the audio design was really good. So this movie is an hour and 40 minutes long, which brings me to my biggest gripe. This movie is pitch fucking black for, not joking, like 45 minutes, maybe more. Here, let me show an example. Look at this. You see this? It's a black frame, right? Black frame. Boom. That's what about 30 to 45, if not more, minutes of this movie was like no cap, that is it. Dude, and the flashlight that they bring, so usually, you know how in movies they usually have this fucking bright ass flashlight, like it's like good enough to be a headlight of a fucking plane. It's just bright as shit. In this film, this guy brings nothing but a fucking Dollar Tree, like single A battery, little like finger flashlight, and that's all they came with. It's crazy. Which is exactly why this poster is funny. See what Michelle August saw? We can't. We can't see what she saw. It's pitch black. This story may have been cool if I knew what the fuck was going on. And like, I have no idea what the fuck is going on. The majority of this movie does take place at night, which is why this movie suffers so greatly from this choice. Which, if it was done briefly, not even briefly, if it was done for like half of the time that it was done, well, it would have been great. You know, it really does build tension, but it overstays its welcome. So this movie is very confusing, bewildering, in not the best way. It begs a lot of questions, but answers very little. There are multiple times in this movie where they introduce something completely new and just take a fucking turn without any explanation. Later, before, during, no, you're just kind of left in the dark. You're actually left in the dark, just like the character, about what is happening, which I guess is the point, right? That is what they're trying to do, because there's no way they would have left the entire movie fucking pitch black if that wasn't the fucking point. I was just trying to scare the shit out of you with audio and just like, oh, what could be out there? What is going on? But I don't think it succeeded in doing what it was trying to do. So the rest of this movie is really tough to talk about without spoiling it. So here's your spoiler warning. Skip to the end to see the score, or click off if you want to see this movie and come back later. So first, the introduction, introducing all the lambs before the slaughter. They go to the camp, like, oh, look at all this like pretty visuals. We can like shoot this music video here, like, oh, it's gonna be cool. Look at all this, and then they set up the camp. It's night, and this is the first thing I noticed. Why was the camera rolling? The camera was rolling when there were sounds, like there was like boom, right? There were sounds that were just like either a drum or a heartbeat. That's what you kind of figure at the end. That's what I think. But the camera was already rolling. They were both asleep. Robbie and his friend, they were both asleep. Why was the camera on? Who turned the camera on? This doesn't make any sense. Bright decision by another typical horror movie character. They just go explore in the dark without any weapons. Like, oh, where could it be? Anyway, night one, just creepy shit build up, right? Second day, also nothing really happens. They find a hatchet. Like, they just show it. They don't even talk about it. Nobody brings it up. Okay. Typical horror movie stuff. Characters are stupid. Night two, kind of the same thing happens, except there's a man with a tomahawk, and that's kind of the only time we see him, besides when we see the exact same thing later on. What I think happened was Robbie gets a concussion, right? And he's like, oh, my head is raining. That's what the fucking IMDb page says. It's their fucking main quote of the movie. My head is raining. Robbie gets a concussion while everybody is getting slaughtered, and you can hear in the background. I think this is the coolest part of the movie, right? Because at this point you're like, oh, finally something is happening. And at this point the camera doesn't really show anything. It's just him like fucking stumbling and like looking at rocks and just bleeding all over the ground while you just hear everybody getting slaughtered. And then you kind of somehow makes it through the night. How? I don't know. Nobody knows. He fucking wakes up in a cave, and all of a sudden, bloodworms. Where? Nobody explains. They just fucking appear. Robbie starts hallucinating. He keeps seeing his friends like covered in blood, which I think it's just showing kind of what we didn't see when people were getting slaughtered. And it's kind of humiliating, just like being crazy and traumatized and concussioned. Okay, and then there's a scene where he randomly stumbles upon a cave filled with blood, and I think he takes a dive. He takes a little swim in the blood, and then he kind of walks out and never explained why or where he was. Another scene where nothing makes sense. There's a ferocious beast like this one. Robbie stumbles upon a beast or some kind of creature that is not entirely shown and is just making some weird noise, and you don't really know what Robbie's doing, because you can't see anything. And then again, it just skips over it and just keeps going. Robbie's just still like on a desert, just doing some random shit. There's like a sequence with stars, which confused the shit out of me. It was already confusing. When that happened, I did not even know what to think. some kind of stars forming in a pattern, but I couldn't even tell what the pattern was. Like, maybe I'm just stupid, but I couldn't fucking dot the fucking dots together like a child connect the dots game. And then it just kept spinning, and then all of a sudden it was daylight and he was cutting off his junk. What I think, relating to the end of the movie when bloodworms. This movie is so confusing to talk about. And so relating to the bloodworms, at the end of the movie, as I'm sure you remember if you've seen it, dude finds a tooth and just slices his shit off. Why? Why is this happening? Why is he doing it? And then he just cuts open his stomach and all the guts fall out and just like walks away and the movie ends, right? And I'm like, oh, why is this happening? And then I kind of thought about it and I kind of made the connection between bloodworms and his guts and kind of his dick. I guess he saw his friend's guts and then he hallucinated the worms. And then the worms made him think that there's worms, like his guts are worms, and so is his genitals. There's worms and he was trying to get them out. That's what I kind of figured. So I didn't look up any analyses of this movie to save it for my own review before I get any of my thoughts corrupted by other people, but I did see one comment saying this movie is Lovecraftian. I love Lovecraftian horror. This movie was not Lovecraftian in my opinion. Okay, I can see why people say it's Lovecraftian, right? Not even people. That one person that I saw commented. Bloodworms. It just doesn't make any sense. It just does not connect. Like, you just have a puzzle piece from one side of the movie, and you have a puzzle piece from another side, and you just try to fucking stick them together until they fit. And I think that's what it felt like, at least in this movie. Cinematography was, when it was bright out, it was kind of nice. There was some shots that you can see in the trailer, some of those shots that were really nice, like that woman walking in the desert, they like kind of did a play on it a few times, which was cool. That was cool to see. So overall, I think my expectations were a little bit too high for this movie. I got less than what I wanted to, which I already didn't want that much. I just want to see some people die in an indie horror movie that was found footage. I just want to see some creepy shit, which this movie was pretty disturbing, but that disturbance quickly wears off after about 15 minutes, which is already like an hour into the movie. There's a movie series called VHS, which is found footage films compiled into one film. I think this movie would have been a perfect part of one of those VHS movies. This feels, if it was shorter by about hour and 10 minutes, if it was only like 30 minutes long, perfect. This would have been juice right here. But it was hour and 40 minutes, way too long. It would have improved drastically from being shorter. And a secret positive of this movie was, even though I didn't really like it, it stayed on my mind for longer than I thought it was going to be. Like, I'm still trying to process what's happening. I kind of want to see it again, but not the entire thing. I just want to like scroll through it and just look at frames, try to figure out what's going on and try to see maybe something that I missed. So usually in found footage movies, there's not much editing, right? It's just clip after clip after clip, and like there's an occasion like boom. This movie had actual editing in the middle of it. Like, songs started playing. I think it was songs. I think there were effects. Oh yeah, there's a tunnel effect. The entire movie is found footage, and all of a sudden it's like, ooh, tunnel. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Throwing shit at you, expecting you to understand stuff, try to figure it out, but it's just so vague. There's no straws to grasp. It's just a broom. So yeah, in conclusion, this movie was a bloody mess, and I kind of want to see it again, but I'm probably just going to scroll through it. So The Outwaters is a C-tier movie. It could have been better, but again, indie movie, small budget, passionate filmmaker. It seems like Robbie Banfitch. I think he's been working with the same cast too. I think one of the actors was there. So, hopefully he gets picked up and get some bigger budgets, see what he does, because it does seem like he has some good ideas. Excited to see what he does next. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'll see you next week. Oh yeah, also don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's dive into it. Fuck, that's cringe.